Hello, good evening and welcome to the RCB Radio Sports Show. My name is Rynne and I'm joined here by Seamus Hayes, who needs no introduction. This evening we're going to be talking about Clare football, which is on a real high after the weekend. And of course we'll be looking forward to the Clare Hurling clash with Wexford and the minor Hurling clash with Offaly. And we'll have a brief word about the Camogie as well, and a very important game for the Camogie players at the weekend as well. Very welcome, Seamus.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas.
I'll kick off, Seamus, by, I suppose, we'll start off. We've had a terrific weekend in football terms. Clare went to Croke Park looking for a win over Roscommon in a big game, and by God did they come up trumps.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere was one of the best I've ever witnessed at a Clare match of any description, hurling or football. I suppose a few weeks ago, football followers and Clare followers in general were down after we losing the first round to Limerick in the penalty shootout. It was a fierce downer, and there was a kind of I suppose there was a feeling, we might as well be honest, around the county that the season might be over fairly quickly. Then drawn against Meath. Management obviously felt that they had a chance. Then they have played Meath often in recent times. In a tight game, Clare deservingly came out on top. Probably should have won that game by more. And then drew Roscommon. And again, there was a fantastic boost with that draw, because Clare had played Roscommon often in recent times. They had beaten them in the qualifier the last time they went in the qualifier. So there was an awful lot of high hopes last Saturday going to Dublin. Now, first half, very, very good from Clare, despite a bad start where they conceded a goal early on. Came back with a string of points, led at half time by 2. Would not have been flattered to have been up to 6 points ahead. Such was their performance. And come out and got the first point of the second half. But then Roscommon hit a purple patch and took over, and I think it was 5 points without a reply. And inside the last 5 minutes, anyhow, things did not look good for Clare. Down by 5 points, brought it back to 4. Captain Owen Cleary kicked a very good free. Then the penalty came, and Cleary was involved in that move. Gavin Cooney was taken down, and Keelan Sexton, who arguably had his best game ever in a Clare jersey, converted the penalty down to a point. Kick out, and Clare turned over possession. Fantastic play by Jamie Malone, who was at the heart of it, and he was fouled. And from 48 metres, Keelan Sexton converted with plenty to spare, I might add. Game level, and we were saying to ourselves, extra time, here we go again. But Clare, you could see the spring in their step. After the penalty, you could see there was a spring in their step. After the equalising point, I suppose there was a double spring in their step, if you like. And again, Jamie Malone, one possession, dispossessed one of the Roscommon players. One possession, worked a very good 1-2 with David Tubridy, and Malone from 40 yards, 45 yards, split the uprights. And we all know what happened after that. The Clare crowd were fantastic. They really cheered on the team. They really gave them a fantastic ovation at the end, and rightly so. And it has just shown that Colin Collins and his Chargers have once again shown that they're never beaten. And there's been a fantastic buzz around the county all week. The draw, hasn't been too unkind. That's not to say that Derry won't be favourites, but they've come out of Division 2 like Clare. They've met each other in recent times, and Clare haven't been out of place. So, there'll be a big Clare following heading to Croke Park next weekend for what should be another great occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. It has given such a lift to the county. With the hurlers going so well, and it was, having lost the Munster final and the footballers come along, then they were kind of living in the shadow, on the lead up to the Munster final, and they've come out and blossomed on their own now. Coming up to half time, as you said, we could have been 6 points, but I definitely felt we should have been 4 points. So we sort of took our eye off the ball. Maybe we let them back in there. It was a kick out that went kind of astray, and I'm not blaming Tristan O'Callaghan for that, but and then there was another point scored as well, and it gave Roscommon put a bit more colour on the Roscommon performance, I thought. But The game that Clare play is highly intensive. It's high energy stuff. I mean, you could find Seamus O'Doherty up in the corner forward position. We saw Kieran Russell coming up for the goal that Keelan Sexton got. He was up at the in line. I mean, that takes an awful lot of energy. So I suppose when the second half came in, even though they got the first point, do the team feel it in the legs maybe, and they have to kind of reset again and get going again?
I'd say so. I just say it's a highly intense style of play from Clare, and there's no such thing as holding your position. You know, you have to move up and down the field. Like, you know, Pierce Lillis was up and down the field. He mightn't, his contribution, some lads mightn't have noticed it, but his work rate was fantastic. He was back in defence, linking play up to the attack, and they were all the same way. Like the corner forwards are back helping out the defence, and positions mean nothing, I suppose, in the modern game anymore. Last week, I felt that in the second half, Clare, certainly the exertions from the previous week took a bit of a toll. Roscommon had been free the previous week, you know, which makes a difference as well. In the qualifiers, whether it be hurling or football, some teams will manage to have a free week, you know, and we could have the same thing next weekend. You have Wexford going into the hurling game relatively fresh. Clare are going in on the back of a hugely energy-sapping Munster final, so we'll see how that works out. But I agree with what you're saying. Clare did, the legs looked a bit weary for a while midway through the second half there in particular, and Roscommon came at them and took advantage. But to Clare's credit, you know, they came strong again. This team just doesn't know when to give up. Yeah. You know, there's been some great runs in the qualifier over the last 4 or 5 years. They just don't know when to give up, and there's a huge belief within the squad that they can take on anybody. And the most consistent man to me this season in particular has been Kieran Russell. He has been Mr. Consistency. Play him anywhere. Keane O'Dea, another fella like Keane O'Dea, could be wing forward today. He could be centre back tomorrow. He could be full back to Leicester. You know, and but again, energy. I don't know where they get it from, but you know, they're in fantastic shape. They have, you know, they have a great buzz and a great bond within the group, you know, and they won't be feeling out of place going to Croke Park next Saturday. They will have a belief that they can match Derry, and I think from that point of view, we could be in for another great contest.
Yeah. Seamus, we're 5 points down. We're playing Roscommon, who played in the Connacht final, and Roscommon have a fantastic history in football, going back through the years. But you're 5 points down. I suppose you're above the stand. You're thinking, well, you know, they've given it their best shot, which was a great shot. I entered the fray, David Tuberty, and it may not seem that he'd done a lot, but he was involved in the penalty. He was there. He was involved in 2 or 3 little plays, and especially that last one that he gave to Jamie Malone. That was just genius, like, and it was only, you know, I don't think there's another player in the field who would be able to do what he did there. And, you know, he made such a contribution. We all know what Keelan Sexton brought to the game. He wasn't supposed to start. Dave was supposed to start. Keelan Sexton had just a dream. If you ever want to make a debut in Croke Park, I mean, that was the way to do it. So those 2 players in particular had you know, the whole team had, but those 2 players, I thought, and Davis made such a difference coming on. And he's, you know, the old head, the old dog for the long road, as they say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. David Tuberty made a massive contribution, and he has done for Clare over the last dozen or so years. You know, he's been a key figure at all times, and you know, he knows his role as a team player, and you could see, you know, the difference it made when he came on. The fellas around him, like, you know, there was a buzz in their play, and he linked up so well, and he's a fantastic reader of the game. And as you say, penalty, Owen Cleary passed it in to Gavin Cooney, who was fouled, but on Gavin Cooney's shoulder was David Tuberty, ready to finish it off if anything went wrong. You know, and then he was involved in the 1-2 with Jamie Malone, and he picked up some great ball, and he never wasted the ball. You know, that's one of the strong points of David's play. He'll always find a teammate someplace, and you know, he'll hold on to play, he'll slow things down, he'll calm things down, and you know, he was outstanding. And I suppose another fellow that deserves mention, it's his first year really in the team, but he's been outstanding, Seamus O'Doherty. He has been absolutely outstanding and grown in confidence with every game. able to go up the field. And like Rynne took a leaf out of Doherty's book from the previous game by going up from the other side and getting a very valuable point. So, I think Colin Collins and his background team have built a strong panel. Time was when Clare would be like looking to 9 or 10 players kind of to carry the can, and hopefully 3 or 4 more might chip in. But, they've built a panel now, and as we always keep saying, in the modern game, you'll win nothing unless you have 24, 25 players of equal standard. And, Clare have that now, and they have a great mix of youth and experience. And take Cathal O'Connor last week, another man that has soldiered there for over a decade. Like, this was his best game in quite a number of years, and kicked 2 fantastic points, won some great ball. And Roscommon were looking around to see where he was, because they couldn't keep tabs on him. And he had been injured only a couple of weeks ago and missed out on a game or 2 because of injury, but he was back and in full fettle last week. And by God, did he hammer it home and show Roscommon what he's capable of. It's fantastic for fellas like that. Himself and David Trubbery continuing to make valuable contributions. And I'm looking forward to seeing them in Croke Park again next week.
Yeah, Cathal O'Connor, he shipped a lot of heavy knocks as well in the first half there. He took very, he was taken out at one stage when he was gone up for a ball. Like, I thought even though the Roscommon men got injured and nobody wants to see that, but I thought he got off light by just going off. Darren O'Neill as well, he's a man who just powers up and down the middle of the field as well. That's one thing that all of our players have really, is that stamina it comes from everywhere. Jamie Malone, they just can. The length of Croke Park isn't long enough for those guys at all. So that's the and Owen Cleary then. Owen is just a fantastic player as well.
So it's great to see Jamie Malone back to the fitness levels that he's at. Like, he was an All-Star nominee a couple of years ago. Got injured in the very start of the league 12 months ago against Laois inside in Cusack Park, and took almost a year to get back. And had to have surgery, maybe I think twice even, to try and correct the problem in the leg injury. But it's great to see him back to the level he's at now, and he's such a valuable player. He reads the game so well. And again, he's another player that, you can play Jamie anywhere. He's playing a wing back at the moment, but Jamie's equally at home midfield on the forward line. And his experience alone, and other counties know how good he is. So they have a job to try and mark him. It will be interesting to see how Derry are going to approach some of these lads next week. They'll have to have, they're going to have a plan to kind of nullify Jamie Malone, Keane O'Dea, Kieran Russell. They'll have to come up with something to try and keep those fellas quiet. Yeah.
And of course, Podge gave had a great contribution that first half as well in particular. Seamus, we talk about it at a future date, but just quickly on the Derry game, it's Derry, and I think it could be Galway in the semi-final. So it's
the winners of the winners of Clare and Derry will play Armagh or Galway in the semi-final. The one thing from Clare's point of view is they're used to playing any of those 3 counties. They've been meeting them in league and in championship, home and away over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not like as if you're meeting them for the very first time. So they will know a lot about them, whoever they're meeting. They'll know a lot about Derry this weekend. They played them in Innis just a few months ago, and they'll have watched Derry. And Derry are after maybe a similar journey back up from Division 4 up through the ranks over the last couple of years. And they have some fine footballers. There's no doubt about that. But like Derry are on a high after winning Ulster. At the start of the Ulster Championship, Derry would not have been listed as one of the leading favourites, would say, for it. They have won that, and it was huge, and I'm sure they'll have celebrated a little. So they have to try and get back up the ladder now again to that level of intensity that they had. And it isn't always that easy, to try and bounce back. So a good start will be vital for Clare when they meet. It will be important for Clare to hit the ground running and say to Derry, look, we're here to looking for a win, so you have to come after us.
Absolutely, Seamus, we'll just leave the football for now. It's everybody's in a high this week after the football. It's absolutely brilliant, and the fact that it was televised as well, and the whole nation got to see such a great. It was the performance of the weekend, I thought, and there was other good games played. But well done to the lads, and Colin Collins. We don't need to say anything more that hasn't been said about Colin Collins. We have a big game in Thurles and we're heading in now after the Munster final and all that went with it. Look, there's no point of going over what has already been, with the sending offs of not the sending offs, but the citing of players, the RTE analysts, and all that stuff. We won't go into that. It's all been said. It's all been poured out. But can we get back up there in time? Is a big question for Saturday.
That's the big question, and that's the question that's occupying the minds of, I suppose, pundits everywhere and followers everywhere. Like Clare put so much into the Munster Championship, and particularly into the Munster final. It will take. You don't recover overnight from a game of that intensity. It was one of the most intensive games I've seen in a long time between Clare and Limerick, and the same goes for both sides. But like Limerick have a couple of weeks rest now to help bodies to recover. So it'd be huge. It's a huge ask of Clare. They're facing a Wexford team who, with all due respect to Kerry, had a reasonably easy passage last week, to just have helped to sharpen them up, really. And I think that Wexford have to be given a lot of a lot of recognition heading into this weekend's game. I've no doubt Clare have the players and the ability, but to lift to that level again so soon will be difficult. Now that they have shown this year that they're able for the challenge, they have proved everybody wrong on a number of occasions this year. At the start of the campaign, the question was, would it be Clare or Tip to have finished bottom of the pile in Munster? And Clare weren't long about answering that. So confidence is sky high. The players are playing to the peak of their abilities at the moment. Hopefully Tony Kelly will be at the same level as he has been at, because he has been so fantastic. There is, I suppose, there's a concern among supporters after the way he hobbled off at the end the last day. But the word is that he's happy that he's okay and that everything's okay. But no, he is obviously, it goes without saying the value he is to Clare, and he's a key figure in the team. If the two lads that are cited, Rory Hayes and Peter Duggan, are out, it's a big ask to make two changes and leave out two players who have been in flying for him. But Brian Lohan repeatedly said throughout the league that they had a panel, and that he was happy with the standard of players he had within the panel, and that if somebody is out, the next fella steps in. And I think that was brought home the day of the game against Waterford, when they opted to rest Tony Kelly, John Conlon, and Paul Flanagan and a few others. And Clare still managed a comfortable win over Waterford and to put Waterford over the championship. So there are players there chomping at the bit. There are players mad to get in. I suppose on the credit side, Matt Rogers came back the last day and came on for the final period of the game, having missed most of the season. He's a big option, may well be in from the start if Peter Duggan is out. Aaron Shanahan didn't play the last day, but he's a man with similar physique to Duggan, and maybe a man to cause problems inside for Wexford full backline. We don't know what the actual lineup will be, and I suppose until nearer match time. But there are players there capable of filling in for those who are likely to be out now because of the sightings.
Yeah, if they are out, they'd be welcome back. Shane Meehan is a doubt as well. I heard that he was wearing a boot earlier on in the week. There's talks of Ed McCarthy making the 26-man panel as well. I believe he will make the 26-man panel, and as you said, Aaron Shanahan, so is back as well, and there's a few more lads there who could step in as well into the breach. So and maybe a couple of fresh players in as well mightn't be any harm after the exploits of the Munster final. But Wexford will come with all guns blazing. They've had a bit of a rest. They've had a quiet Leinster. They came third in Leinster, I suppose you could say. They've had an up and down Leinster. Catch and Galway the first day for the draw, I think, there was probably a little bit more expected of Wexford of themselves, I think, but they're still there and they're still a formidable side.
Certainly, I suppose a lack of consistency is something Wexford supporters would talk about, but having looked to have been in trouble after the game, after the draw with Westmeath, they put the shoulder to the wheel and bounced back by beating Kilkenny. And at the best of times, when Wexford beat Kilkenny, it gives the Wexford County a massive lift. And I think that will have lifted their confidence no end. And the fact that they're now back, at the business end of it, if you like, they will see an opportunity. They will realise that Clare had a very, very tough Munster final, and they'll see an opportunity, to get another step along the road to a possible All-Ireland title. So, they're going to be fired up. There's no doubt in the world about that. They will probably bring a big following, just as Clare will. But it's going to. I expect it's going to be a very tough game. I genuinely do. I think that I've no doubt that Clare have the capability to win the game, but I'm just worried about what the Munster final has taken out of them, and the fact that they will have to make a couple of changes if the suspensions are upheld, or the proposed suspensions if they're upheld. For a team that's going so well, to have to make a couple of changes like that could have an upsetting effect. That would be a concern I'd have.
Yeah, it would be upsetting, but as well, it could be used as, I suppose, something to bolster the team as well. Wexford's style of play, obviously under Derry Egan, he has changed from the more lateral games that they were used to playing under Davy Fitz. They seem to be playing much more direct hurling. Not all direct hurling, but much more. And I think that makes them a far dangerous animal, because they're big, powerful men. They have got McDonald inside in the square. They have scorers. They have Rory O'Connor. They have proven men, and of course, Lee Chin coming back as well is a huge bonus from. He has been back now for the last couple of games, and they could fit. And they were looking for the goals there against Kerry, and Kerry put up them for and stood up well. But you could see the power of Wexford, and that's my fear, is that they will be a powerful team on Saturday.
Yeah, and as you say, that they have big men down the field, like Liam Rynne in the backs. He's a monster of a man, and Hurling well, and chips in nearly with a pint or two in every game. And as you say, Rory O'Connor, what you call him, Liam McGovern, Conor McDonald, D. O'Keefe. They have proven hurlers across the pitch as well, and they have. We'll say the last couple of turns that they've met Clare, they've come out the wrong end of it, so they won't be short of reasons to want to win this, apart from the fact that they'll get him into an All-Ireland semi-final. But they will feel that they owe a beating to Clare, if you like, and that'll depend on how they're going to cope with the threat of Tony Kelly, because I don't know, have any team the capability to hold that man quiet, because you just don't know where he is. You never know. You have to be looking over your shoulder, and he's at the other end of the field. And we've seen so often now what he's capable of: left, right, from play, from frees, sideline cuts, whatever. And but hopefully he'll be able to have the same impact, because he is crucial to Clare hurling. Just that's not a reflection on any of the others, because they're all playing their part.
Well, Seamus, I have gone to Cusack Park in different places, especially in Cusack Park, just to watch Tony Kelly, whether it's club or championship, just to watch him, see what he does. And he's lost me above in the stand, not to talk of losing his own player. Like he just pops up, and you say, where did he come from? There's a chance that Keane Nolan or maybe Jack Brown might be stepping into the breach. So I mean, they're two great men to have as two cornerbacks, and maybe Aaron Shannon. We don't know, but they're good men to have, and they can fill that. I think they can fill that void. But it's going to take a big effort again. But Thurles might suit us. I think the lads like to play in Thurles.
Yeah, Clare, the players will tell you that they love playing in Thurles, and they have shown that on numerous occasions by turning in very big performances. So they know that this is another opportunity for them. They know that they're going to have a big following, and they know that things are going so well for Clare GA at the moment, with the senior hurlers, senior footers, minor hurlers. That there's a buzz around the county, so they won't want to be the ones to interrupt it, if you like. We can't fault them for what they've done so far, and hopefully they'll do more. But there's also, I suppose, at the end of the road, and they won't be looking past this game, but in the back of their minds, they'll know that there's a possibility of another clash with Limerick, and the rivalry, the atmosphere that would bring, and they would say after 96, the way Limerick stripped Clare of the All-Ireland, of their Munster All-Ireland titles, I'd say Clare would love to be the ones to strip Limerick of their All-Ireland title. You know, that rivalry is there, and it adds to everything. So at the back of their minds, I say they'll know that that's a possibility if they can keep going. So they'll want to take a step closer to have another crack at their neighbours.
Yeah, a great game to look forward to, and we'll all be heading for Thurles. We'll have to fill up the car fairly well on Friday morning, Seamus, because we've got to go down on Friday evening down to Thurles as well. And you know, it's a nice little journey, Thurles, and we won't be no sooner home unless we stay down there. Then we'll be on the road again. But I think it's well worth mentioning that we really need to support our minor team, and they're well worth supporting. They're playing off, you know, they've made their way to an All-Ireland semi-final. They're only a game away from getting into an All-Ireland final against Offaly, who are probably a little bit unknown to us. We haven't, obviously, at minor level, you know, so a great opportunity.
Oh, a great opportunity. But, you know, and I know the management won't, but Clare people would be foolish if they form the idea that this will be handy. You know, that we're not playing, we'll say, the traditional, like Kilkenny, or, you know, one of the bigger powers, as we call them. I saw the Offaly Laois game, and I was hugely impressed by Offaly. There's some powerful players, some powerfully big men, and they've been building for this for the last couple of years. And so, you know, it's going to be a huge test. I was talking to Brian O'Connell yesterday, and he said that we know we're playing the Leinster champions, he said, and you don't win a Leinster title easily. So he was in no doubt as to the seriousness of the challenge that they're facing. He was glad to report a clean bill of health. Everybody is fit and well. You know, they produced some marvellous performances throughout Munster. Disappointed against Galway, I suppose, in the first game after the Munster final, which was understandable given the effort. But I think the real proof that they're a good team and that they're going well was the way they bounced back to account for a very good Laois team last time out. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a great game. It is tough on Clare supporters, you know, and at the best of times, you know, admission charges aren't getting any less. The price of fuel is getting higher and higher all the time. You know, and it's a tough ask for Clare GA supporters who are amongst the best you'll find in any sport. But it's a tough ask to expect them to go to Thurles Friday, go again on Saturday, pay admissions and fees and cover fuel, and hopefully go to Dublin the following week, you know, and hopefully be going to Dublin again a week later for an All-Ireland semi-final. You know, that would be the hope. But it's from that point of view, it's a tough ask, but I'm sure they will find a wherewithal somewhere, the supporters, because they've always done so.
They've always done so, that's right. I suppose it's great to see, and I'm getting away from Clare a bit here, but it's great to see Offaly having won the Leinster final, coming to play now in an All-Ireland semi-final. You know, we miss Offaly from you know, they fell away there for a while. Like Michael Duignan has come in as chairman, and I think he has a big influence. And it's great to see Offaly and Laois making progress in Leinster, and today were in the Leinster final. It's great for the game, I think.
Fantastic, and it was a fantastic occasion, that Leinster final. I remember watching it, and I nearly fell off the chair when I heard the commentators give the attendance figure of 11,500 on a Monday evening at a minor final. You know, it just shows what it means to those counties to have a team run in line for a title, and I think that's a huge plus. You know, and look, the change is good as well. You know, we would say Kilkenny, and fair play to them, they've dominated Leinster there. You know, at minor level, St. Kieran's College are scarcely out of the limelight, or Kilkenny CBS. But, you know, the schools in Laois and Offaly are coming strong again. And there's a lot of work being done at the schools as well, at schools level. So, you know, and it was great to see Clare back. You know, Clare's last appearance in a minor final was 97 when we were victorious. So 25 years on, it would be great to be back in the final, and it would be great to have another crack at it. You know, young fellas at that age group need a lift every now and then, but the college scene in Clare was good. We won't forget for a long, long time the celebrations when St. Joseph's Tulla won the Harty this year for the first time. You know, and there are fellas who played in that part of this, and you have to give credit to not alone to this management for the work they have done, but to the people coaching in the various schools, because they're put these fellas through their paces first and get them up to the level where they're picked up by the county management. And I'm looking forward to Friday evening. I genuinely am. I think this could be a real classic again, and there have been some great games in the minor scene this year.
Yeah. I remember Seamus coming back, I think it was 1989 when we played Offaly in an All-Ireland final. And even though we came out the wrong side that day, both Clare and Offaly produced some of the best players that we've ever seen out of those two minor teams. There was unbelievable talent came through, and wouldn't it be nice to see it happening all over again? So maybe it's deja vu. Maybe we might get the win this time.
Of course it would. Like this is the stepping stone, and this is where people get their first taste of serious inter-county action, I suppose. I know there's under 14 and 15 and 16 development squads, but this is the first real, I suppose, serious stuff where you have crowds on the sideline, you have crowds in the stands, and you have players at that level, under 17, 16, have to contend with the atmosphere and the level of expectation. And don't forget there's players going into Friday night's game who still have exams to do Monday and Tuesday, or they're in the middle of doing the leaving cert and the German cert. So fellas have to focus on that as well, because it's an important part of their education and their development. But I'm really looking forward to Friday evening. The players that are involved have given us some great performances this year from both counties now. Offaly as well as Clare, and as you say, a lot of these players, I'd say, in the next couple of years will be standing up and saying, I want to play in the senior team, I want to be part of the senior panel. And judging from what we've seen so far this year, I have no doubt that there's quite a handful of them will be in the senior squad in the next couple of years.
Absolutely, and we wish both teams the best of luck at minor level in Thurles. Big day for both teams. Just looking at the Camogie now, Seamus, big game at the weekend. Unfortunately, it's been played on Saturday while a lot of us will be heading to Thurles. There's a Camogie game on in Meelick, and Clare facing into Dublin, and there's a junior game on before that as well. So it's a must win for Clare.
It's absolutely a must win now. The disappointment of losing out by a point to Wexford has put the pressure on, and Clare have to win their last two home games against Dublin this week and against Waterford if they are to have a chance of making it to the quarterfinals. That possibility looked really likely a couple of weeks ago, after a great league run and a draw and a replay with Cork and some great performances. But I suppose tiredness has crept in as well a little, because I think they've had 5 or 6 weeks in a row of very heavy going and serious competition. It's really disappointing that the game is on at the time it's on Saturday. It's really, really disappointing, because with all due respect to everybody, the focus from all Clare hurling supporters will be on Thurles. The majority will go to Thurles, and it's bad enough that they're on the same day at 2 different venues, but the timing means that if you want to go to Camogie or vice versa, you cannot sit down and watch it on television if you're the other game. So I think that's sad. It's very sad, and it has happened too much with Camogie in recent times. Camogie ladies football, they've been at loggerheads, I suppose. Now they'll tell me I'm wrong, but they have had too many clashes over the years with fixtures, and this is a bad clash. Like, there was nothing wrong with having this game on Sunday. Yeah. They could easily have been played on Sunday. I don't know of any issue that would have prevented it from playing on Sunday, and then you would have been able to have people there. Like, a lot of the key players in the Camogie team come from clubs that are providing key players to the hurling team. Some of them have family members playing hurling in Thurles, and they won't be able to go and support them, or vice versa. So from that point of view, it's hugely disappointing. But it's a game. Going back at the game itself, Clare must win this game. If they don't, their season is over, really, after much promise.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I'd love to see the Camogie. I genuinely would. I went down last Sunday. I watched the football game, the ladies' football game against Louth, and it was a cracking game, and I really enjoyed it. And it was lovely to be there, to be part of it. And it's just a matter of looking at the fixtures. I just don't understand it. From my point of view, I cannot watch Camogie this year because every game seems to clash with a big hurling game, and you can't just pick and choose. But Sunday would be a lovely day to wake up Sunday morning after coming back from Thurles and say, well, what am I going to do today? And you can get down to Cusack Park or wherever it would be in Clare So it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But we just wish people would look a bit closer to it. But that's it. It's a big weekend all around Camogie and the big hurling game in Thurles and Friday evening. It all kicks off on Friday evening, and you know, we don't mind travelling to see those teams because they're what keeps us ticking during the week. It's been all hurling this week. It's been all football. Everyone I meet up around Dinah here now in Kilnamona, they're all talking about the great win the footballers had. It's the, I called into the jump, I met a fella from Kilfenora, and we spent 20 minutes talking about football, and that doesn't happen unless the team is going so well. So fair play to the lads and giving us great entertainment. Seamus, thanks a million. I really enjoyed your company this evening, and we'll do it again in the near future.
No problem, Nicholas.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Good night.